congratulations are in order for one of my fellow panellists this week. After their enthusiastic work, dogged determination and tireless campaigning finally paid off. Our hearts nearly burst with pride when we spotted you amongst a sea of blonde bouffants at the QE2 Centre for the biggest announcement of the political calendar. Now, we know you won't want us making a big fuss about it, but we just have to say, Rachel Johnson, well done for finally making it as the sister of the Prime Minister. And to make sure you don't forget us lowly pledgers, now you're sky high, we've whipped round and got you a little present.
Hey.
Oh, God.
Which you have to wear.
Yes. How do I put it on?
Well, that's why I was looking at your chest earlier. Now I've got the excuse. I think I'm going to have to clip it there, if that's all right.
That's your story. I'll just hold it here. I'm not going to wear it throughout, but everyone can have a good look.
Yes.
Which brings us to my topic, doesn't it?
Not just yet, because coming up before you, Greg argues Boris could be out before he knows it. I'm saying Britannia should once again rule the waves. Carol wants more support for those living with dementia. And Rachel says women need to stop being undermined by men who think they know better. Now, remind me, Rojo, what is it you're talking about? Rajo, what is it you're talking about this week?
Guess what I'm talking about this week. It's a funny old world, isn't it? And may I be the first on the panel to congratulate our new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and wish him the best of luck. He'll need lots of it in the next 98 days, after which, according to statute, we'll leave the EU, deal or no deal, do or die, especially after that bloodbath of a reshuffle and the creation of a hard Brexit war cabinet that won't necessarily unite the party, let alone the country. Still, I can't help feeling proud of him. Only 55 men or women have made it to the very top. More people have been to space. As we buckle up for the ride of our lives, I salute him for making his own moonshot on politics and landing safely, for the moment, at 10 Downing Street. May I now speak from the heart as a sister. Say what you like about Boris, but he never makes personal attacks. He may sack from cabinet those who backed others for the leadership, but he generally remains polite and courteous, whatever anyone says about him. You may not agree with absolutely everything our new PM says or does, but let's try to play the ball, not the man. I know it's heavy, but he's my brother.
I have to say, I'm beyond excited at his election. I really am. You know, we've had 3 years of hopelessness, of hand-wringing, of doom and gloom, of ministers trying to terrify the life out of our population that we couldn't survive on our own, we can't leave the EU. I am so ready for Boris. I can't tell. I want his enthusiasm.
Steady.
Right, Carol.
Steady, Carol.
I better warn you.
His big, bold promises. I want to hear what I want the enthusiasm. I just want it all. And you know what? He's not a stupid man. He knows he's got 99 days now, maybe 98, I have lost count, to make this work. And he's pledged everything on it. And I love that about him as well. I love the fact he staked it all and he said, this is what I'm going to do. And he knows what it means if he doesn't do it. He knows what's going to happen if he doesn't do it. And I want that kind of braveness. You know, I listened to his speech yesterday, and my heart was bursting because we need that kind of enthusiasm in this country now. We need it. And, you know, a lot of people, and Greg, I'm sure, will say, it can't happen. It's almost like a lot of people don't want it to happen.
We're going to talk about what's going to happen in Greg's topic.
Yeah, I do. But I think he's exactly what we need.
Can we keep to the theme of what I wanted, Rachel? I mean, when you consider... Carol's obviously very excited about the hard Brexit that Boris is going to inflict
not even that.
On her, or maybe not, or a deal. But, Rachel, can I ask you, we all know the personal is political, but can we make the political slightly less personal?
I don't think there's a but in that sentence. I mean, of course, the personal is political, and especially in this case. And I think that, you know, this is slightly awkward, this conversation, given that you are his sister, and I think that's one reason for the sort of Johnson dynasty to not be involved in media management and reputation management.
Can I just say, for the record, this is the only media I have done around Boris's premiership and rise to becoming in Downing Street. I have turned down everything else except for the pledge, so you're very lucky.
And she is a person in her own right. I mean,
of course she is. All right,
but
the reason why I think you can't separate is because we know that the personality of the Prime Minister actually counts for a lot in the particular way that our politics is set up. And we also know that Boris Johnson has lied. He habitually lies. He's lied at least twice and been fired from jobs over it.
Ancient history, though.
He's made bigoted comments very recently, including very recently, about the LGBT community, about black people, about Muslim women, who reported an increase in hate crime after he said those things. He has been careless enough to ensure that a woman who probably extended the detention of a British woman in an Iranian prison, and he has been disloyal to the extent that he has been prepared to throw one of our key diplomats under a bus. So, of course, these personality traits will affect... it's the calibre of a person, isn't it? And that will affect his politics. So for asking for a separation, I think, is not
the reality,
fair.
the reality is... Yes, thank you. The reality is, I'm more on Carol's side than I'm you. If you are against Boris Johnson, you're always going to be against Boris Johnson. I would like to point out, and I would say, I think it's far more important where you're going than where you've been. Exactly. I'm amazed if any of us could actually say we've not had problems in our lives. I've been sacked from jobs. Probably all of us around here have at times been sacked from jobs.
Don't worry too much about... I don't... for the same reason, for lying to your boss.
Oh, but are you
I can't
actually
even remember what there's so many reasons.
That politicians don't lie, Rich? Are you really naive enough to think that politicians don't lie routinely?
It is habitual, and that is a problem.
But Carol, Greg, I'm telling you now, if Boris Johnson cured cancer, I'm not saying you necessarily, but people like Rachel, not necessarily, still will blame him for not having cured multiple sclerosis.
I think that speech yesterday...
absolutely ridiculous.
That speech yesterday was one of the most impressive I've heard, because not only did he lay out the problems he has to solve, he gave solutions to those problems, and Theresa May did not.
Yeah. I got sacked as a trainee manager at Marks and Spencer, but it wasn't for lying.
What was your job?
What was my job? I was a trainee manager, and I set up the all-time broken biscuit record. It was my only thing I did of any note, I think.
I was sitting in the QE2 when they made the declaration, and Brandon Lewis, who's the chairman of the Tory party, actually stood up, and before he made the announcement of who'd won the vote, he said... He gave a plea to the party. He said, please, can we be nicer to the incoming Prime Minister than we were to the last? Should we be?
Should we be? Well, first of all, I give you some credit for, I think, defending your brother and saying, look, let's be nice to him. Should we...
I'm not saying don't criticise him. I'm just saying let's not make it as ad hominem as it has been.
Take a look at this clip of your brother.
I want you to consider this kipper. This kipper, which has been presented to me just now by the editor of a national newspaper, who received it from a kipper smoker in the Isle of Man, who is utterly furious because after decades of sending kippers like this through the post, he has had his costs massively increased by Brussels bureaucrats who have insisted that each kipper must be accompanied by a plastic ice pillow.
Now, what we know about that, of course, is it wasn't a Brussels bureaucrat, it was a Westminster bureaucrat who imposed that.
I know, and Isle of Man isn't even in the EU.
But go back to his period, a long time ago, but working as a journalist in Brussels. And he did stories like that all the time, some of which were true and some of which weren't. And in the end, he got fired for it.
But, Greg,
right.
if he...
No, let me finish, you cannot divorce someone's personality and what they've done and from their job. Now, I agree with you. I don't care what his sexual relationships have been about over the years. I think that is all irrelevant. Right. But you do have to look at the things he's done in work and say, well, is he the right person? Is that the right person? But I do pay some tribute to you, because I think, you know, if your sister won't defend you, who will?
Carol, can I ask you, just picking up from that, which I think is important, because in Brussels, where I was, and my husband at one point is foreign editor, he was writing these stuff about, you know, they're going to blow up the Berlaymont, there's a Delors plan to rule Europe. And what we're seeing really is the final result of those stories, which actually created Euroscepticism, became Margaret Thatcher's favourite journalist, you know, that he found the tides of Euroscepticism with those articles, with the Leave campaign, and now he's reaping the whirlwind of this himself.
I think what we have
Do you not think that he bears some responsibility for those, as it were, I don't want to say lies, but, you know, he was fairly economical with the truth.
Listen, let me answer. And I think, you know, there was a piece written by Peter Oborne this week, who worked with your brother for many years. And he said, and this is what interests me, he said he has one of the most politically nuanced brains he's ever come across. He said he's one of the most brilliant men he's ever come across. He said, and I think this is incredibly important for the job to come, he said that Boris delegates responsibility to other people. He doesn't want to do everyone's job. And he's not frightened to surround himself by clever, brilliant people, because he has a brilliant mind. Now, that, to me, is a very good recipe for a Prime Minister. What Oborne did say, though, he said he could be one of the best ones we've ever had, but he does have some flaws that could mess it up, and that's what we have to hope.
I sense Rachel wants to come in,
yeah. Can I just point out, because we seem to be sort of sliding over this lack of truthfulness as though it doesn't matter. And let's just look at, you know, public opinion on this. This is from a YouGov poll that was taken just a few days ago, so it's recent. Do you think Boris Johnson is untrustworthy? 58% of those surveys said yes, he is untrustworthy. Trustworthy 20%, 23% don't know. So it does matter. It matters that the Prime Minister of our country has told so many lies in his life and in his career.
Have you ever told a lie, Rachel? Have you ever told a lie?
But I'm not standing to be Prime Minister.
Doesn't matter. He can't go back and undo the lies he told.
But he's been lying even days ago, even in the campaign for his leadership.
He is one of the bravest politicians you will ever come across. London riots, 2011. He gets back, he goes down to Clapham with someone who was then Home Secretary, Theresa May, and with senior police officers. The mood of the crowd turns really ugly. And I saw it. I don't blame Theresa May. I don't blame police officers. They all turned away. What did Boris Johnson do? Walked straight up to the noisiest protester, offered out his hand and said, now, what can I do to help? That is extraordinary bravery. If he shows that bravery now, getting Brexit over the line, we will give great thanks for the fact that he's there.